Before you go to sleep with wet curly hair, watch this video to see exactly how to wash, style, and dry your curls at night and protect them while you sleep without damaging your curls in the long run. Even if you're someone who doesn't sleep with your hair wet, but you're noticing that your curls are getting completely ruined while you sleep, then definitely continue watching because I'm going to share with you exactly how I protect my curls overnight to where I barely have to do anything to them the next morning. I've already shampooed and conditioned my curls, and I'm going to breeze through with the styling routine so that way we can get right to the nighttime sleep protection. I'm also testing out the new acidic bonding line from Redken, and this is my first time trying them out, but I'm going to have up a YouTube short after this video with my full review after I can test them a little bit more. I first used their acidic bonding curl silicone-free leave-in treatment, which is the bond repair treatment of the line, and then I used the hydrating curl cream and the sculpting curl gel. So while I style, let's talk about the potentially harmful effects of sleeping with your hair wet. So the first one is scalp conditions. Scalp conditions are more likely to occur when you're keeping your scalp damp for long periods of time, especially when covered up. So if you're sleeping with your hair in a plop with a towel over your head overnight, this could lead to more scalp conditions. So it just increases your risk for them. So this could be anything from fungal infections, dandruff, seborrheic dermatitis, folliculitis, which is bumps, sort of like acne on the scalp, and irritation. There are naturally occurring fungi and yeast on our scalp, and overgrowth of this fungus is what leads to seborrheic dermatitis and dandruff. And a warm, damp scalp for long periods of time creates the perfect environment for the growth of fungus and bacteria. And our bed sheets and our pillowcases can also harbor fungal growth. So we definitely don't want that. Our wet scalp needs air. Another major risk is hair breakage. Our hair is weakest when it's wet, and any tension and friction while it's wet can cause it to break. So if you're wearing it up in a scrunchie, a clip, or another accessory while sleeping can lead to breakage over time. And another one of the biggest negative effects of sleeping with wet hair are frizz and misshaped curls. So friction against our hair while it's wet disturbs the curls and causes frizz. Our curl shape sets in the position when it's wet, so sleeping on wet hair can cause bends in the hair and wonky curls that just have to be re-wetted in the morning, which is also not healthy for the hair to be wetting it constantly. Another big risk that I feel like no one talks about is scalp buildup and flat roots. So specifically if you're wrapping your hair up in a plop or some type of towel, wrapping your hair in a towel or other covering presses your hair products into your scalp, which can then cause buildup. Pressure against the scalp also flattens the roots and reduces your volume. Now you may be thinking, I sleep with my wet hair all the time and I'm fine. And yes, you will likely be fine, but it's something that can happen over time, especially if you're predisposed to any of these scalp conditions in the first place. And I just want you to understand the risk so that way you can decide if that risk is worth it for your routine. So now for how to dry your curly hair before bed. So once you're done styling, you need to get your hair dry as quickly as possible so that way you can go to bed. To speed up dry time, I highly recommend microplopping, which is just where you scrunch your hair with a hair towel or a t-shirt after styling. This absorbs the excess water and product to speed up the dry time. If you get frizz, just add another light glaze of gel afterward. Then go straight to diffusing or air drying. I recommend diffusing, but if you must air dry, you can put in some root clips to elevate the hair away from the scalp so that way it can get airflow. You will need to allow time for your hair and your scalp to air dry before going to bed. And stay tuned for an alternative method to sleep with wet hair if you do not have time to diffuse or to fully air dry. I prefer diffusing because it's fast and prevents frizz and elongation for my hair type. It sets the gel cast and the curl shape right away. And even if you just diffuse for a few minutes or maybe do half diffusing and half air drying, that can really help. I'm using the Curlsmith Defrizzion hair dryer with the XXL diffuser attachment, which can dry my hair in under 15 minutes without using high heat that will cause damage to fragile curls. And this is due to that super large diffuser head size. There are several factors that impact your dry time, and it's important to understand these so that way you can cut down on your dry time and get to bed quicker. So the density of your hair is going to have a big impact on this. Thick hair is going to dry more slowly and thin hair dries fast. Mine's pretty low density, so it dries in under 15 minutes. The porosity of your hair also impacts your dry time. Low porosity and healthy hair will take longer to dry than high porosity and damaged hair after the water has been scrunched out of it. Climate also plays a big impact. High humidity is going to take longer to dry compared to dry climates. Products that you use also make a difference. Products that are rich in oils and butters are going to take longer to dry than more lightweight products like foams and mousse products and lightweight leave-ins. How much water that you use while styling, because soaking wet styling takes longer to dry compared to damp styling. I usually style more damp so my hair dries a lot faster. And the quality of your hairdryer and design of your diffuser is also going to have a big impact. Look for those longer prongs with holes in them. That way the airflow actually reaches the root and the scalp area. Once my hair is dry, a little bonus tip is you can take those root clips and place them along your part while your hair finishes setting and cooling off. Leave them in for a couple minutes to really help elevate the roots for root volume. Now that my hair is completely dry, this is when I would usually scrunch out my gel cast, but for this routine, we're going to leave it in. This is what is going to significantly protect your curls overnight. So gel cast is that crunch that your hair gets when your hair dries, when you have gel or mousse or any type of styler that gives your hair hold. If you are just using a curl cream, or maybe you're not using a stronghold gel and your gel is not drying down with a cast, then your hair is probably going to frizz up in the night. It's not going to hold up as long, especially if your hair is very prone to frizz. Or if you did use a gel that gave your hair a cast, but then you go to scrunch it out and your hair instantly frizzes up, then that gel did not have enough hold. So before bed, I would go ahead and put on my bonnet just like this. So I would put it on over my hair that is dried and still in the cast. And I like to do it before I take off my makeup because then the bonnet kind of doubles as protection for your hair when you're washing your face. So this is my adjustable band bonnet from Amazon. I'm going to link this down below along with everything that I mentioned. But this is nice because it does have an adjustable band. The only downside to this one is it's a little bit too large for my hair's density when it comes to the bulk of it. So I do roll the rim around once. Having the right fitting bonnet is key. I've talked about that before. But if your bonnet is leaving your hair kind of drooping down and not keeping it plopped on top, then it's too big for your hair's density and thickness and overall length. So to put this on, I just flip my head over, both of my hands sort of holding it open, if you can see. So I'm flipping my head over so that way all my hair is forward. And then I'm hooking the back of it right at the nape of my neck. Then I'm pulling the bonnet down and stretching it. Ideally, your bonnet has a stretchy band where you can do this, stretch it over your hair. So then I'm gonna take my other hand and then press the hair up towards my head. So I'm kind of plopping it in there as I stuff it. I'm not stuffing it to where the curls are going to get misshaped. So see how my hand just presses it straight up. It's not perfect in there. You're obviously going to have some curls that didn't get perfectly plopped, but the goal is for the hair to be kind of pressed against the scalp like this to where all of it is kind of going in this direction against your scalp evenly, so that way things aren't getting messed up. So then you can either leave it like this and then tighten the band right here, but I actually like to roll it, so I just do that while I'm still upside down. I'm just gonna roll the rim. I just roll it around once. Sometimes I have to kind of stuff in any pieces that might have fallen out. So you can see how now that I rolled the rim, it kind of tightened up this part. So I don't have all this excess fabric right here. It's pretty tight against my hair, but it's not too tight. You don't want it to be mashing your hair. That's when your bonnet is too small and it's misshaping your curls to where they're getting messed up and they're getting kind of stuck to your head. It's just the right amount of fabric and tightness against my hair. So most of my hair is up here on top, sort of like a mushroom over your head. My hair is not flopped down in the bonnet down here because then that can just kind of mess up your curls, then you're still sleeping on them. The goal with this is to prevent you from sleeping on your curls on the back of your head. Obviously, if your hair is a lot shorter than mine, your hair is going to be kind of down in the back and there's nothing you can do about that. I actually just got my hair cut, so there's a lot of shorter pieces along the nape of my neck and they're probably not completely forward. They're probably like pressed upward, but at least it's going to help give me some lift at the root. I also always get asked if I wear a scrunchie underneath my bonnet, and I don't because I just find that that creates a dent and it's not needed. But if you did have a ton of hair, or if you are really struggling with getting it on, or if you're noticing that you're getting like a flattened crown, I've seen some people take a scrunchie and maybe just put up half of their hair. That way they're not stretching out the bottom half. You can try it, but I find that that defeats the purpose, at least for me, for putting on a bonnet, because then I'm still using a scrunchie and that's stretching and denting out my curls. Another method is using a silk or a satin scarf. This one's actually from Curlsmith, but I will usually fold this in half. So this is a square scarf. So I'm just gonna take two of the corners that are opposite from each other and fold them to where you end up with a triangle like this. And then you would just take the long side, so this top part, the straight side. So the straight side is the side you would hook behind your neck. And then I like to kind of reach in and pull all of my hair forward, because again, you want your hair forward and not all behind your head. You want all of it kind of pulled forward. So now all my hair is in the front and I have these two ends that I can tie. So I'm just going to cross them over each other once and then tighten it. You just want to make sure your hair is out of your face. So then I tightened it to where now that crossover is right there in the front and everything is situated in the back. And then you can just tie it in a knot again, so you can wrap around another time. So you can leave it like this if you want, but your hair might be flopping down in the front. So sometimes instead of tying it around twice, I will kind of take these in. So currently it's only looped around once in the front, and then I will wrap them around the back, and you can tie it right there. Like if you pull it tighter, it's kind of making like a hair tie on the front, or you can go back around the front again and then tie it right here. So now the two ends are wrapped around twice, and then it's kind of gathering the hair all together. This is going to probably stretch your curls a little bit more and maybe dent it because you've now wrapped it around tighter, and then secure it like that. So now the hair has like more elevation right here, so it's not in my face. So this is actually the method that I do usually when I'm on the beach, or if I did want to fully protect my curls and be outside, like where I wouldn't want to wear a bonnet out in public, I would do this. Another method that I've seen some people do for sleep protection is instead of leaving your ends out, you can kind of plop them down in here like this. And then you could kind of tie these together. I've also done this style before too at the beach to like completely keep my hair tucked away and my hair covered from the sun. So those are just some options if you don't want to wear a bonnet with using a scarf, and it doubles as a cute hairstyle. Another option, which is probably the most popular, is just using a silk or satin scrunchie to do a pineapple hairstyle, which is where you gather all your hair up on top of your head. But if your hair is short like mine, it's probably not going to go up in a high pony. I just got mine cut recently, so it's not probably going to go up very easily, but I will show you how to do that. Another good method for short hair though is to only do half. So if I did just do half, I wouldn't want to pull apart the curl clumps. I would want to sort of pick up hair that's already separated, like where we were brush styling, you can kind of already see the separation, or just like pick up individual curls like this to pull up to the top. And you can just put up half of your hair. Same with the back. So you can just secure half of it up here, and then you could use another scrunchie to secure the other half or leave it down. But for the regular pineapple, that's when you gather everything around to the front. And for my hair type, this just really stretches out the back, especially because my hair is shorter on the back. I would have to really stretch and pull everything to actually get it up. But you basically put your, look, see, it's already falling out. So this doesn't work for me. So you basically are pulling your hair all the way up as high as you can. That way it's not in the back. And I just wrap that scrunchie around once. You probably would have to do it twice to get it to actually stay if you have thinner hair like me. And then your hair is up off of your neck ideally, but I can't do this because of these pieces. I could also take these curls and then secure them with a clip. So I just have these little claw clips from Amazon. They're little miniature clips. And I could secure these pieces in the back. But then I would feel this clip when I'm sleeping. I could maybe do a bobby pin, but then that's still kind of stretching them and maybe denting them. So I don't love this method, but I did want to share it with you if you struggle with the bottom section. I know some people also like to use clips to kind of secure their hair tie, or maybe you could just use clips and not a scrunchie at all to kind of secure everything on top of your head. That's another method. So with all of these sleep protection methods, you're definitely going to want a silk or a satin pillowcase. I currently have the Curlsmith one on my pillow, but that's definitely a game changer because if any of these sleep protection methods fall off, you have that as a backup. And plus, silk and satin just feels nice on the skin. You don't get those skin creases and stuff. If you must sleep with your hair wet, or if your hair is not all the way dry and you've got to get to bed, then the best way to do that is to lay your curls out over your silk or satin pillowcase. This will allow the air to reach your roots and air dry your hair quicker while you sleep. Yes, you may roll around on them, but that is better than stuffing them into a covering like a bonnet or wrapping them in a towel where they can't get air. The only other alternative could be a hairnet where the air can get through, but you're still likely going to get those misshaped wonky curls from stuffing wet hair into a covering. Turn a fan on if possible while you sleep to air dry your hair even quicker. Make sure you change your pillowcase the next morning and let your pillow pillow dry out though to prevent mold. You don't want to leave your actual pillow wet from your hair. Now day 2, the next day, and I've taken my hair down out of my bonnet. It has had a chance to kind of settle. You do want to give your hair a minute to settle before you start messing with it. So I'll just flip my head over and then shake out the roots just to kind of lift the hair back off the scalp if it got kind of smushed. But I did a walk this morning and I kept my hair in a bonnet. I actually have another one that I usually wear when I work out and I just walk here in my house. So I did wear my bonnet for that. And then I also kept my bonnet on in the shower and I put a plastic shower cap. It's actually a silk lined one or a satin lined one. I will link that for you down below. I did wear a shower cap over top of that, but I have not done anything to my hair. So this is what we were going for with this routine, to where you don't have to do anything the next day. If you do want to do a few touch-ups, I would recommend just using a little bit of your gel, maybe use a serum or an oil, but you really want to avoid wetting your hair if possible. And if you do want to use a little bit of water, I would just go for a small amount. I have my spray bottle here, so I might touch up a few pieces, but you don't want to wet down your hair. That's completely defeating the purpose, and that can cause damage to your hair over time. It really weakens the structure of the hair. Hair swells when it's wet, and that can weaken the inner workings of the hair over time if it's constantly swelling and lowering. So we just want to avoid wetting our hair all the time. Plus, our hair is weakest when it's wet, so you don't want to be detangling and doing a lot of manipulation to your hair when it's wet every single day. So ideally you have a gel cast in your hair that you can go ahead and scrunch out the next morning. I did not have that strong of a cast from this wash day yesterday using this Redken Sculpting Curl Gel, but usually for my routines, I do still have a cast the next morning when I wash at night, and then I'm able to just scrunch it out the next morning. If your hair did not dry with a cast, obviously you don't have to scrunch it the next morning, but ideally you still have that cast in, or maybe it gradually released some throughout the night, and that's totally fine. But the key is to not have frizz the next morning if you used a stronghold gel and you properly protected your curls at night. Now, if you scrunch out the cast and your hair feels damp still, then that means you didn't get your hair totally dry, and that's also not good for it. So if you are feeling any wetness in your hair, go ahead and diffuse it to get it completely dry. Some gels can be reactivated with just water. We will see if that's the case with this one. Usually I would probably just use a serum or oil and skip the water, but I do want to show you like a quick, easy way to touch up. So I'm just going to mist my hands with some water here, and then I'm just going to pick up any pieces that look a little frizzy and just kind of smooth over them. I will also usually pick up any curl clumps that are just too large. A lot of times the hair will group together overnight, especially if it's healthy, which is a good sign, but you do want to separate those if you want more volume. So we will see if that dries down with a cast. Hopefully this gel can be reactivated with just water. My favorite gels, you can reactivate those with just water. So I don't really have much frizz. I do have a little bit right here, which is a problem area for me. These ends, I'm working on getting them fully trimmed up to get the damage off, but there is still a little bit there, so they can be more problematic. If your hair is more high porosity or if it's damaged, then you might have more frizz the next day, but it does get better as your hair gets healthier. It will last a lot longer. So my hair is barely even wet, so I don't feel the need to diffuse that because it's actually not that wet, but depending on how wet you get your hair, you might have to go in and diffuse it. If you are using a lot of water to refresh, then you'll definitely want to diffuse to set that curl shape and that cast back in place. I might actually add a little bit of gel right here because I know that I didn't have much of a cast on wash day because it wasn't as strong of hold as I hoped. So I just used like the tiniest amount, mix it with some water to dilute it, so that way we're not like layering on too much product. And I'm just going to smooth over. So as I mentioned, usually I don't have to do this at all, but it's because this gel did not give me enough hold of why I'm having to touch up the next day. I mean, I could leave it, but my hair will definitely frizz up, especially in the humidity and the heat by the end of the day if I don't do a little bit of a touch up. So again, I'm going in with the tiniest amount of gel there. You can barely see it. So you see how this piece looks a little frizzy. So that's all I'm gonna do for this touch up. Now, if your curls became elongated or they got stringy, or if your hair was very wet for your refresh, that's when you would definitely want to diffuse. It's gonna make a big difference in how well your curls last. So that's how I would do like a very easy touch-up refresh if I did end up with some frizz, because this gel just didn't have enough hold for me, unfortunately. But as I mentioned, with my good gels that I like, I don't have to do anything. And in fact, my day 2 looks even better the next day when I use those gels. So I'll be sure to link some of the best long-lasting gels for you to use on wash day, so that way you don't have to do any refreshing. I will put those on the blog post that goes with the video that will be linked down below. If this is not working for you at all and you're really not liking your results from washing at night and you're not liking having to take the time to fully dry your hair before bed, then I would reconsider your schedule and when you wash your hair. It might be better for you to instead be sleeping during that time that you're washing and drying your hair at night, going to bed earlier, and then getting up earlier to have time to do it in the morning. That might actually save you time, especially if you are someone who wants to air dry. You could have a little bit of time in the morning to wash and style and then air dry once you're, already getting where you're going if you need to leave for work. If you then leave for work and then you can finish air drying during your commute or something like that. So that might actually save you time versus having to diffuse before bed. But I personally think that diffusing saves me time because I'm able to finish my hair right then and there versus waiting hours for it to air dry before it's even done. But essentially, regardless, you're going to have to spend the time. So whether if you're doing that at night or you're doing it in the morning, it's still the same amount of time. So maybe just reconsider your schedule with your hair. And unfortunately, curly hair just does take some time and effort unless you're blessed with perfect curls, which most of us are not. So we do have to take some time to really care for our curls if you do want your curls to be healthy and really thrive. What do you all think of these results from the Redken routine? Definitely let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to include my final thoughts on my curly hair tracker and planner, which is what I use to plan out and to track my wash days. I'm going to include a screenshot on the blog post that goes with this video, which will be linked down below, but I'll be sure to make notes on my thoughts on these products since it was my first time trying them out and maybe what I would do differently next time. And if you do want to snag the tracker for yourself, I will have the link for it down below. So I definitely recommend that if you're trying to nail down the perfect schedule for your curls, whether if you want to wash at night or in the morning. And you can also track your sleep protection methods as well in the tracker. And if you want to get started with diffusing, since that's really the best way to get your curls fully dry before you go to sleep, but you're struggling with it, then check out the recent video that I did. I will have it linked right here on the screen. It's all about how to diffuse for beginners if you want to get more curl definition, more curl shrinkage, and also more volume and root lift. So I will talk to you all over there. Bye everyone.